What do you do when you're experiencing bad flow? I worked with somebody by the name of Walt, and he was experiencing bad flow. And so I asked him to send me an email describing the situation. What was the situation? He was trying to write documentation that would be beneficial not only for himself, but his coworkers. What did it feel like? I have a fear of failure of not doing a good job because of lack of writing skills or not getting it right. What were your thoughts at the time? Dread, despair. It almost feels painful. I have a fear of the writing process. This is a sign of bad flow where it's primarily a visceral reaction. And when you recall it, most of what you recall is feeling related. Then I asked him, what did he do? He said he starts to work on it, but I'm easily distracted with other tasks or items that I feel are more fun. While trying to type this note, I was relieved a call came in and I had to stop writing this to answer the call. So even sending me this email, just recalling the experience was putting him into bad flow. So I asked him what happened. He experiences shame, that he's not doing the work he's supposed to do, that he's easily distracted, that he tries to pull himself to focus, but it's really, really difficult. So this is a perfect example of bad flow. If you weren't sure what I meant by bad flow by reading through this example, you probably can think of your own examples and you have a much better idea of what bad flow is. Here are his answers put down horizontally now, and I'm mapping them above his first talent, which happens to be deliberative. And this is quite interesting actually, because you notice that deliberative is about assessing and dealing with risk. And Walt's view was that writing documentation inherent in the task was the risk. And therefore, deliberative was short-circuiting his ability to do the task because he felt the risk was too high. So he just couldn't do the task. Bad flow still involves your talents, but they're being triggered as opposed to activated. Absolutely the same thing could be happening to you. So I do want you to think of a bad flow experience of your own and see if you can map it to your talents. Now, here are the rest of Walt's talents. And here's a direct quote where Walt was describing a flow experience. And for him, writing code put him in a flow experience. And listen to how he describes writing code. When I was a developer, I knew the code base inside and out. I knew what it could do, what it couldn't do. I would go meet with super users, ask them what they were trying to do and what they didn't like about the platform, and then I would figure out what I could develop and deliver in a relatively short period of time. I liked surprising them with a feature that they hadn't even asked for but ended up loving. They said I was a mind reader. So if you take a look at his talents and the way he describes this, the sequence he follows is completely different. So he jumps to individualization first, where he'd talk to people. Context, he knew the code base in and out. When they described how they would use it, he would use analytical. And then when he thought of something that they might like, that's him using futuristic. And then he would cobble together a feature and basically blow their mind. And so the switch strategy for Walt's bad flow experience is basically when you're creating documentation, create it like you would write code. And so here's what that looks like. If writing documentation, first talk to super users, then identify the critical use cases, and thirdly, develop risk procedures. In other words, create documentation like you would write code. And if you look at these steps, you can probably see the mapping to his other talents in each of these steps. See if you can create your own bad flow protocol, and the best way to do it is come up with a bad flow experience, isolate which talent or talents are being triggered, identify your switch talents, think of some flow experiences from your switch talents, and then you'll probably start to come up with your own kind of switch strategy like you see here for Waltz. Thank you.